Hello everyone, this is Miskyo and welcome back to this K-pop trash of a channel. Now today I will be ranking the first round of Kingdom performances. Each group had to prepare one of their songs to the theme of To the World. However, this time around they had to create a 4-minute performance with this theme. I decided to wait till all the groups performed before I ranked them since I knew my ranking would change once I saw all the groups perform. This is just my personal ranking on the performances and I'm not a music or performer expert by any means, unless they got some graphic design work that I can professionally critique since I am a graphic designer, so I'm not a professional by any means. So these are all my personal opinions. I would also like to note that I am a fan of all these groups, so I don't have a bias towards anyone. With that being said, let's get into the rankings. Starting at number 6, we have iKON. It really sucks putting iKON last, knowing how hurt they were when they got 6th place in the global ranking for the intro performances. However, I didn't really feel like they brought their all to the first round. I felt like they were still sticking to what they know and are used to and are best at. They didn't go outside the box, and I want to see them explore the horizons and show everyone that iKON is coming to town. I know that they can do better. For the first round, iKON performed Love Scenario and Killing Me. I'm glad they picked Love Scenario because that song became a worldwide sensation when it was released, and even became South Korea's anthem for a while. But I also liked how they incorporated Killing Me into the mix to create a tragic love story, showing how love can kill. It can be painful. When the scene opens up to Bobby sitting in the chair with his partner facing the black and white screen that says the end, set the tone for the performance of a breakup. You can feel those hurt emotions from Bobby's opening rap to DK's vocals before it goes into the musical dance number. I really liked how they rearranged Love Scenario into a Broadway musical number to give the song more life while getting you into the groove to the beat. My favorite part of the Love Scenario sequence was when DK was on the white staircase with the fedora on his head and holding the mic stand. It gave me such Michael Jackson vibes. Also, the way he changed his voice to fit the theater version of the song was just the icing on the cake. However, when it suddenly changed to Killing Me, I enjoyed how dark the scene got. It prepared you for the next scene of the breakup, turning into a tragic and painful love story. I loved how DK took off his jacket as he walked up the stairs and then flung himself backwards into the pile of hands that swallowed him up. That scene was so powerful and got you wondering what was going to happen next. However, afterwards, the performance fell flat for me. The dancing was good, but the lighting was terrible and it was hard to see them dance. I know a lot of people complain about this, and I hope Mnet didn't make the stage darker on purpose. It also didn't help that the camera angles they chose to show when Song was hoisted up into the air was a bit weird, because when you compare that part to iKON's dance practice video of the performance, you can see the back of the members' heads while looking up as Song was hoisted up in the air, giving you a better view and framing of that key point of the choreography, which made it more powerful and interesting to look at. They were able to save themselves a little bit when Chan threw the lighter behind him and then the wall of fire appeared afterwards. That scene was great and that was the best scene of the performance. However, the transition afterwards to the last scene when Song hit the camera, it was weird to see a bird's eye view after that and not a camera that was already eye level with the boys just to pan back to them once they got back into position for the last scene. So yes, this whole performance was a bit messy, that's why I ranked it at number 6. It's not the boys' fault for the lighting being so dark and the camera angles being trashed. I just hope with their next performances that they show everyone that iKON is coming to town. That's all I ask. At number 5, we got B2B. B2B definitely stepped it up this time. I can say that they gave the same energy as everyone else. However, the performance felt the same throughout till it got to Minhyuk's part. There weren't really any dynamics in this performance as compared to the others. I did like how they gave Missing You a Korean traditional twist though. I love the use of the traditional instruments that were used as the instrumental for the vocals and the traditional Korean attire, the hanboks that both the backup dancers and B2B wore throughout the performance. It was nice to see how the stage started out in the forest, giving you a mystical feel. The stage was elegant and beautiful. The use of the fog to cover the floor created a surreal look to the performance, as if you were inside a drama or music video. When it got to Penel's part, I loved seeing the dancing shadow figures behind the white screens. It was so cool to look at. Even though they were mostly walking around on the stage and doing minimal choreography that didn't strain them too much so that they could focus on their vocals, I felt like they were the only only group who really showcased their vocals and sang live throughout the whole performance. Yes, some of the groups did sing live like them, but they were more focused on the dance and performance aspect than their vocals. Which is fine, you don't have to sing live to give a striking performance. With that being said, I still didn't like how they were just walking around on stage for about 98% of the performance with only doing minimal choreography and having Minhyuk do all the rest with his one part that actually brought something to the table. Missing You is a slow song, more of a ballad, thus why the original dance is pretty simple. However, I would have liked if they somehow incorporated traditional Korean dances into the original choreo that they did themselves. Since they were already going with the traditional theme anyways, might as well add that feature in and not leaving that up to the backup dancers, which you couldn't really see since the camera was mostly focusing on B2B. However, I did like Minhyuk's hard rap. It was so clear and distinct before Eungwan and Changsub went into their high notes, but what came afterwards was the killer part of the performance, B2B's secret weapon. I love seeing the sword fight Minhyuk had in the forest before running out into the middle of the stage and having his little dance solo with the sword. That part that followed afterwards was just so striking with their more a cappella part where they all came together and sung live, giving such an angelic feel to the performance that gave you goosebumps. I also loved the way they ended the stage by walking back into the forest and going back to where they started with the flower petals falling down on them. It was a beautiful scene and I really enjoyed this ride. Even though the performance was beautiful, it still lacked in some areas and they were just walking around most of the time. The props really helped them to create an interesting performance. Without them, the stage would be bland, in my opinion. B2B is still not giving their all. I need to see them push themselves more before I consider giving them a higher ranking. Coming in at number 4 is Stray Kids. I know this may be shocking for many, but let me explain why I ranked them in 4th place. They had a great performance and did really good at giving God's Menu and Side Effects a creepy vibe to them by acting like ghosts and puppets. The beginning was intriguing by the way Lino and Han were being played like puppets by the people wearing the black clothing, creating an eerie vibe with the way they contortion themselves to the music. I also liked the use of the hallway, having the members pop in and out of the doorways when a new person appeared. I also loved the minor details when Changbin and Ayan really played the part of string puppets when it came to their part in Side Effects at the beginning of the performance, while the other members were there like statues. Afterwards, when it got to Felix's part, when he rang the bell and the hands just came out behind him, really heightened the creepy factor and set the tone pretty well for what the rest of the performance would be like. I loved how they built up to the next scene of the performance when Felix walked down the hallway and kept on hitting the bell to create impact, basically telling you to get ready for what's about to happen next. That's when you get to the God's Menu portion of the performance and having the performers underneath the white blanket pop to the beat of the music. However, this is where the performance falls flat for me. The beginning was so strong, but then it just went down in quality in terms of impact. The dancing was good, but it was just plain and boring. It didn't help that the mic seemed to turn off when Changbin was doing his rapping, but then turned back on for his ad-libs, which made his part kinda awkward. Even the beginning when Banchan was doing his part in Side Effects, his mic was clearly turned off and it just felt strange that nothing was coming out of that mic, even though he was holding a mic and it didn't have one of those hand-free mics. However, the performance did pick up again at Banchan's part in God's Menu when he was dancing along with his shadow, and when the members started playing with the other performers as puppets. But those were the only things that was interesting during the second half. The dancing was cool to look at, it was powerful, but it was just, it was plain and boring. There was nothing really exciting. It got boring for me. I felt like they relied too heavily on the props. I just wish that they had the same energy throughout the performance. The beginning was great, but then it just went downhill from there. At number 3 is SF9. I can't believe they ranked so low this week. They did not deserve that ranking at all. I don't know what those experts were thinking, and even the other groups were thinking when ranking the performances. They did not deserve 6th place at all. SF9 didn't have that many props in their performance, but they didn't need it. They showed that they didn't have to rely heavily on props to create an impactful performance that had the same energy throughout. They showed how props should be used to add flair to the performance and to not let it overshadow you. So let me explain what I mean by that. We start out with the performance with Yoo Chae-young playing off the mirror, setting the tone of who's the fairest of them all. Using Now or Never to tell a story of jealousy is just brilliant. Now this is what I mean by using props as a flare. Later the mirror is used again with Jaeyoon as he runs towards the mirror and hits it with his fist. You could feel the emotions being expressed by his body and the facial expression you see when he looks into the mirror. SF9 simply used the props as an aid but not as a crutch. This is later proven when we get to Chani's part and we travel inside the mirror. The way he dances with the female dancer is beautiful and smooth. You actually feel like you are watching this happen inside a mirror. When they aren't using props, they are dancing in a theatrical way that makes the dancing part so interesting to look at. It's elegant, it flows well, it's powerful, it creates impact. You can't tell me that when Jaeyoon, In-sung, and Zuho picked up those female dancers on their shoulder and spun them around before dropping to the ground wasn't just breathtaking. I also loved how fast the camera movement was to one scene to the next. The performance never stops. It keeps you interested in what the next scene is, what the next formation is, what the next part of the story is, who is the next to be swallowed by the mirror, swallowed by their own jealousy. My favorite part of this performance had to be In-sung's part, when he started fighting the other performers, taking the red scarf from them that represented their life and blood. That scene was so smooth. It literally gave me goosebumps just watching it right after watching Hui-young kill Zuho, taking his heart in the form of a red scarf before dancing with it. Gosh, what an impact and great storytelling. Not only did they start off strong and the whole performance not slowing down one bit and kept you on your toes, they ended it off strong with Hui-young pouring out the poison and walking down the aisle as the colors got muted and returning to where they started, before the other performers fell on the ground. It started so beautifully and ended beautifully. They may not have used that many props, but for sure showed that you don't need that many props to give a good performance. They used the props as an aid and not as a crutch, and I have a lot of respect for that. At number 2, we got the boys. I really enjoyed their performance. They really know how to work the stage and work with the props as an aid than a crutch. You can really see the experience of being on Road the Kingdom has helped them to create such a great performance so far. Now, the boys performed their song No Air with the concept of Game of Thrones, a song of ice and fire portraying a tragic love story between two lovers who represent ice and fire. I loved how they went above and beyond with the performance when capturing the song of No Air by showing one of the members struggling underwater with chains attached to him. They really went to a place with no air, and that was the water. Afterwards, the scene opens up to what looks like an icy snowy mountain where Joo-young was chained up and then being broken out by his lover, which represented the fire. I enjoyed how they did a POV, a point of view type of concept, where the camera acted as the eyes of the lover, since you constantly see the female hand being stretched out in front of the camera, but you never get to see who that person is. It's as if you are the person. You are the fire, the lover of this performance. I loved how they moved to one scene to the next by covering up the camera and then ripping it off to reveal the next part. Even the dance portions were interesting and fun to look at. It had so much energy and the acting was really on point. I also liked how the members interacted with each other too. Like when it got to Hyungjae's part and he dropped the white blindfold and then Nu caught it in his hands afterwards, it was just so flawless. I love the build-up they created in the middle of the performance where the members were dancing with the other performers, basically showing the emotion of pain and tragedy and shutting off the fire to bring back that cold feeling to create more emphasis on how the pain feels. Getting you ready for the next scene was elegantly done. Then they got to Sungwoo hanging from a rope and the background of a wall that was moving up. It gave the illusion that he was being hoisted down by their rope even though he was just standing still. It created an interesting visual plane to the audience. However, my favorite part got to be when Joo-young was being controlled by the hands behind the white sheet. The dance was so beautifully done and I loved how he made it look as if he was being played like a puppet. When the performance ended, I like how they ended it with fire, with the torment of love, the tragedy of love being shown in the last scene. The hands reached out again, but Hyunjae pulled back and the fire just engulfed them. It was beautiful. A beautiful performance. They were the only ones who played off this POV, this point of view concept, which I enjoyed a lot. It was unique and different from everyone else. I liked how they interacted with the hands too. Everything was just perfect and I really enjoyed watching it. Lastly, at number 1, we got ATEEZ. Now, ATEEZ slayed this week. They deserve that number 1 spot. The whole performance was a movie, it was a drama, a whole Broadway play. I really appreciated the research and thought put into this performance. I love how Hojun was inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean and it coordinated the theme into their stage. I also loved how Eden guided Hojun to find a classical piece that matched with Wonderland. Putting those two together was great. I love this mix and it really sounded like a pirate song, but also being ATEEZ's Wonderland song at the same time to create an adventure-like song. Now getting into the performance, I liked how it opened up with someone dressed like one of the members from Hala Hala and walking through the ship deck into the captain's room, handing Hojun the map before he flipped the hourglass which started the story. I loved how ATEEZ carried you through their pirate adventure. The minor details they used to portray this when Yoonho used the sword and Woo-young using a telescope to look beyond the horizon to make sure the ship is on the correct path. If you guys have watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, then you would remember how the pirates at one point could turn into skeletons when they stepped into the moonlight. I liked how they portrayed that with the contortionate dancers and painting them in the glow-in-dark paint and then turning off the lights to create the skeletal effect. Great attention to detail. However, my favorite part got to be was when they were up to fighting the Kraken. I loved the dance fighting scenes, how Hojun went in to save one of his crewmates, and freaking Seonghwa shooting and killing the Kraken was just the perfect build up to that scene. Everyone was waiting to see if they were going to succeed in killing their enemy. But we need to talk about Jungho's 4-octave high note. That was mind-blowing. The pipes that Do has is amazing. Everyone was impressed. With that being said, we need to talk about the live vocals. I love being able to hear ATEEZ's voices through the mics. You could hear them struggling, but they also managed to stay stable. I really enjoyed this performance. They started off strong and continued to have the same energy throughout. Everything about the stage was great and they deserve being in first. They really outdid their competitors. Now, these are just my personal opinions of Kingdom's first round of performances. None of these groups deserve last place, and I really hope all of them at least once gets a high ranking. Now, I would like to know your thoughts about the performances. How would you rank them? Which one was the best, and who do you think deserves to win this week? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope to see you in the next video that I make. Bye!